David writes in Psalm 139, verse 1, "You have searched me, Lord, and you know me. You know when I sit down and when I rise. You know or perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out and my lying down. You are familiar with all my ways. Before a word is on my tongue, you, Lord, know it completely. You hem me in behind and before, and you lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too lofty for me to obtain." Verse 23. "Search me, God, and know my heart. Test or try me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there is any wicked or offensive way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. Search me, God, and know my heart. Test me or try me and know my wicked or anxious ways, and see if there is any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way of everlasting." For a few moments, we want to talk from the subject, Lord, work on me. Lord, work on me. Many of us, we spend a great deal of our time, an inordinate amount of time, looking and trying to work on other people. It is so much easier to spend our time pointing out the faults of other folks. And it creates a way of delaying the fact that we've got some stuff going on in our own lives. You can tell everybody where they've gone wrong, but you don't see anything wrong with yourself. We spend all of our time, as we said before, pointing one finger at other people, realizing we got three coming back at ourselves. It is easy, it is easy, it is easy to spend a bunch of time looking at the faults, the failures, the shortcomings, and the mistakes of others, and not really deal with the faults, the mistakes, the shortcomings of ourselves. And so in Psalm 123, or 139 rather, David wants to turn the spotlight from others and ask God to look at himself. Lord, I know I need some work. I know I need some work. I cannot spend the rest of my life judging others when I know I got some stuff going on in my own life. Lord, work on me. He says, first of all, God, you have searched me. You see it? You have searched me, Lord. You have turned the light from heaven on me, God. You have gone through me and have dissected me bone by bone, muscle by muscle, thought by thought, God. You have checked me out. You have turned me inside out. You know everything that there is to know about me. In fact, God, you have searched me. You have searched me. And not only have you searched me, but you know me. Yeah, you know me. And see, many of us, we know about people. We really don't know people. Yeah. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. And that's why a lot of times people get discouraged or dismayed when they find out somebody is acting different than they thought they should act, saying that you didn't really know that person. You might have been acquainted with them, you might have been affiliated with them, they might have been your road dog, your sister girl, y'all might have been running buddies and running partners, but you really didn't know them. But the psalmist says, God, search me and you know me. You really know the real deal about me. You know everything, every thought that I think. You know every aspect of my life, God. You have searched me and know me. And in fact, God, you says, verse 2, you know when I sit down and when I get up. Yeah. God, you know my actions. You know every time I sit down and you know every time I get up, every time I rise, every time I sit down, and from sitting down to getting up, God knows exactly what I'm about. He knows exactly what I'm doing. It says, not only, God, do you know my actions, not only do you know my actions, but the text goes on to say, you even know my thoughts. You know my thoughts. You perceive my thoughts afar off, God. You know what I'm going to think even before I think them. Even while it's way down the road, even before that person comes past my way, you already know what I'm going to think about the situation. You know when I sit down. You know when I get up, God. In fact, you discern, verse 3, my going out and my lying down. Yeah. God, you know in the morning when I get out and go about my daily tasks, you already know from the time I get out up and about my business to the time, God, when I lie down at night. God, you know what I did, not only when I got up to go to work that morning, but when I went to bed at night. And he knows everything that goes on between the time when I get up and when I go to bed. He knows everything that I did. And when I got up that morning to go to work and I went to bed that night, he knows everything that I did from the time I got up that morning to when I went to bed that night. He knows. And sometimes, even though you tell folks you're going to work, you know you're going by this person's house and that person's house, and you know you're going dipping and dabbing where you not have no business. But God, everybody may not know. She may not know you stopped over Sister Jane's house. She may not know you went by that person's place. But God knows from the time you got up in the morning to the time you went to bed at night. Yeah. And that's why you ain't got to try to hide from the preacher. That's why you ain't got to try to hide from the deacon, because the one that sits high and looks low knows when you're in. He knows. He discerns my going out and my lying down from the time I get up to the time I go to bed at night. In fact, God, you are familiar with all my ways. You know everything that there is to know about me. Even God, let me tell you how wise and God is and how omniscient and all-knowing God is. Even before a word is on my tongue, even before it comes out of my mouth, even before it comes out of my mouth, God already knows what I was going to say. Yeah. And so even though you might have slipped, God already knows you were going to say what you say before you said it. He knows every time when you start something, God already knows how you're going to finish it. He knows everything that there is to know about you. Yes. Lord, you know it completely. In fact, God, I can be assured that you are always there for me. You hear me behind. You got my back, God. You go before me, God. In fact, God, I can rest assured that you have got your hand on me. You have got your hand on me, that there is nowhere that I go that I don't have to worry about